We've done the worst. You can check that one out first, before this, or don't. I don't know, I'm not your minder, do what you want. Now, let's move on to the best. We'll start off once again with the honorable mentions, and these are Annihilation, Cold War, Film Worker, Isle of Dogs, Kaiser, the greatest footballer never to play football, Lek and the Dogs, Macbeth, One Cut of the Dead, Shoplifters, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Thoroughbreds, Toy at 22 Julie, Want to Be My Neighbour, The Workshop. Now on to the main list, starting with number 19, The Other Side of the Wind. Orson Welles released the movie this year. That's how that went. I'm still not sure what to make of it, if I'm being entirely honest. It's incredibly cerebral and very personal, clearly playing off a lot of tropes and conventions that annoyed him at the time. It's a great kind of look into the brief period of time where Hollywood became revolutionary instead of formulaic. Despite Welles' protest, he clearly had a lot of himself into this movie, especially in the lead, played rather predictably perfectly by the late great John Huston. It's unconventional and strange, and certainly would have gone down as one of Welles' most talked about films had it come out when it had planned to. Despite being so well known for one film, all his work offers something unique but still has his wit and attention to detail. Maybe with a few more watches this will jump up a few places, but it's a fascinating experience and I'd recommend it to Welles fans and those who have an interest in the era of journeyman directors in the 70s. At number 18, it's In Fabric. This is simply one of the most bizarre and unique films I've seen all year, and it completely enraptured me. It's a movie about a killer dress, and whatever potential such a strange one-line pitch can be milked for, Peter Strickland went at the cow for. Its lush and provocative cinematography exposes its own brand of horror, with things feeling a lot more intense and mysterious than truly horrific. It's actually really funny how effective this weird idea ends up being. It's got a haunting and very mood appropriate score. The cast are great and really make their characters feel real in a deliberately unreal world. Shout out especially to Marianne Jean-Baptiste, who bounces off the madhouse with incredible grounding and stellar engagement. I really grew to care about her character and her fate. Not much else to say, this movie's great. It's one of the most singularly distinctive experiences I've had in cinema all year. Check it out. At number 17, it's Achiambra. How is it that so often movies have tried and failed to give us what Achiambra succeeds in spades? To depict a descent into crime from a young age due to impoverishment and negative cycle. This was wonderful, focused on a real family. It looks at a young Roma boy in a rundown part of Italy as he falls into a criminal lifestyle after his brother and father are arrested. The acting here is brilliant, especially from our lead, which is astonishing as none of them are professional actors. The locations here are great, grimy and homely, and there's a great sweeping style to everything to allow the location to breathe. I love our lead PO's rapport with one of his brother's friends, and this movie pulls absolutely no punches as one of the most powerful and devastating final shots I've seen in a movie in quite some time. More films need to be this honest. At number 16 is Lean on Pete. Well, this was a fucking emotional tidal wave. This is the story of a young boy with a troubled family life who befriends a racehorse about to be put down. The lead performance by Charlie Plummer is great. He really lets you into this kid's quiet, ceaseless sadness. There's some good sense of pacing here. Every moment in a relationship is set up just well enough and the payoff feels all the more earned. This is pretty hard to watch, and if you've seen any of Andrew Haigh's other works, no, you really should if you haven't, then you can likely work out that it's not exactly going to go for the conventional chirpy bits of relief for their own sake. This guy's an expert grasp on realist melodrama, and while this is probably one of his more out there stories, there's still a sense of sincerity in the presentation and mood that'd make everything that happens all the harder. It's a great film about the struggle of growing up with a massive weight attached that you never asked for, and how much that will connect a young man to an old horse. And number 15 is The Meeting. This movie is a true life case of Ailva Griffith, sorry for mispronouncing that, a woman who arranged a meeting of her rapist after the attack. This was a remarkable and incredibly brave thing to do, made even more impressive by the fact that Griffith plays herself in this film. This is her reliving this event. It's very intense, very confined entirely in that one room for nearly the entire runtime, and it's told in real time. There's a lot of close-ups, insert shots, and exaggerated sound mixing to really get you in that sense of anxiety and dread. Very rarely have I seen this exact mood be captured so well. Props to the actor who played the assailant too. He did fantastically making this person human but not wholly sympathetic. It's challenging and uncomfortable but necessary storytelling that triumphed all involved. This flew under people's radar in a year where Irish cinema hasn't been that amazing, so track this one down. At number 14 is Roma. This quasi-biographical film takes a look at a middle-class family in Mexico City in the 70s, but more prominently their maid. This is a false of Quran taking his propensity for high-octane spectacle and impressive visual prowess to tell a more personal and emotionally centered story. It works really well. They feel like real people real. This is a city that feels lived in and worn down. There's a great sense of continuity with the tracking shots, really giving us feelings, momentum at every singular beat, reminiscing about life, good or bad. Feels like a huge journey, and the cinematography reflects that. It's emotionally rough and can be really difficult to watch at points, but I dug the artistry at play to tell a really simple story about how families are formed and what they are made of. I want more stories from Kieran's heart like this one. At number 13 is Three Identical Strangers. The documentary looks at a media sensation of the 80s where three young men found out they were triplets who were separated at birth. When they looked further into their past, however, things began to unravel in a shocking way. Do yourself a favour and go into this knowing as little as possible. The way the story unravels is both engrossing and really shocking. My jaw dropped twice. It's so intense. It asks a really difficult question of nature and progress with a really engaging and weighting personal story of these brothers and the relationship and how this has changed their lives. They're all really well fleshed out, and it brings up pertinent questions about their differences and similarities. It's excellently paced, well told. Every moment happens exactly when it needs to, and the mystery and intrigue never really let up. You will not believe the shit certain groups got away with in the story. There's not much I can say that wouldn't just hint too far into what's going on. Go into it blind and let the story take you to exciting and morally uncomfortable places. At number 12 is Climax. Hey look, Casper Noé wants to make us all feel really uncomfortable again. His latest release looks into a dance group who were spiked with LSD without their knowledge. The hook here is that we never actually see what these characters are seeing, just the reactions to the drugs kicking in. This is an absolute shit show, and the way the camera glides objectively around the cast sets a true sense of mania and unhinged debauchery. This throws so much heinous shit at you. It never feels antithetical to the narrative, nor really out of place or gratuitous. The lighting is really cleverly used, particularly with the power going out. Everything is choreographed in a fascinating and deliberate manner, with the dance sequence at the beginning being a huge highlight. It's fucked up and really unsettling, and I wouldn't have it any other way from this French madman. Forever will I look forward to his latest film with glee. And number 11 is Mandy. Oh Nikki, you came and yeah, sorry, I won't be doing that. Mandy is amazing. It's cinema at its purest. It is the most Nicolas Cage has Nicolas Caged. Absolute gorgeous exercise in dynamic camera work, intense and striking cinematography, a pulsating and really hard driving score, and insane and insanely creative action sequences. This movie feels like not only a tribute to the 80s but every single decade. There's a career-defining performance from Linus Walsh as a cult leader, but Cage is the one that shines. I love how this movie really takes its time and earns Cage's breakdown. The title doesn't even drop until an hour into it. It's extremely cleverly paced to the needs and momentum of this story. Everything you could love about cinema, great action, romance, cult conspiracies, comedic riffs, Nick Cage, all of it here, and all of it is available for you to watch. Why are you sitting here listening to me when you can watch Mandy? Like, just keep stay, because I have more movies I want to talk about. Number 10 is A Fantastic Woman, the story of a trans woman cut off from being able to mourn for her lover by his family. This Oscar-winning film absolutely hinges on the performance of Diana Varga, who hits every emotional beat with finesse and commitment, especially with her being in every scene, and how she's never boring or tiring to watch is a testament to her burgeoning talent. I'm really excited to see her in future endeavours. The way the event is framed is not subtle in its depiction of a less direct ways trans people are discriminated against, but it's done in a way that feels honest and really hits to the heart of the issue, while also being a compelling character study. They really know how to change a dime with everything the lead character goes through, and has a diverse and eclectic soundtrack that really captures this mood. One of the best looks at unspoken systems of privilege and the mindset of the people they affect. At number 9 is Minding the Gap. What a hard-hitting and poignant portrait of modern-day America. This documentary follows 3 friends who have been skateboarding buddies since in their teens. While their connection is to skateboarding, the director used to shoot videos of them. The movie expands more on their individual personal issues and struggles of growing up. Spread out over the course of a couple of years, the way we see them mature and change is rewarding and really makes you feel connected to all of them. Even with this all being real, there's a huge attempt at bringing this brutally honest as possible and not holding back on these guys' actions just because they're friends. It has a lot to say about class struggle and difficult familial relationships. It really shows how much poverty shapes the kind of person you will become. Deeply emotional and heavily rewarding. I would recommend this movie to pretty much anyone and have not stopped thinking about it since I saw it. At 8 is American Animals. This is one of the smartest and most creative ideas I've seen for a film in quite some time. Telling the true-life tale of 4 college students who attempt to steal priceless novels, it blends reality further by having the narrative split with interviews of the real people involved in this case, and the other segments aren't just recreations. This is a feature with established actors and everything. I love how detail-oriented and well thought out the filmed parts are. There's some excellent cinematography on display here, and it's able to blend some more slightly artistic shots involving birds as well as a realistic depiction of group mentality and how it can be driven and coerced. None of these kids really know what they're getting into, and they're all relatively sympathetic while never being abstained from their terrible shit they pulled. I love the thought and care put into how real and fiction play off each other, and it's a really solid case of how we memorialize our own past, for good or for ill. Excellent idea, fantastically executed. Can't wait to see other films played with this concept. And number 7 is The Shape of Water. A very different kind of Oscar winner indeed. Guillermo del Toro's latest fantasy looks at one of the most beautiful, touching, and well-told love stories about a woman who has an unambiguous romantic and sexual relationship with that fishman monster thing from The Creature of the Black Lagoon. Something this out there should not be this accessible, and the fact that it is, and it's so great, is a testament to how much del Toro is one of our greatest living filmmakers, and a man who will always march to the beat of his own drum. The way they interlock the idea of privilege and how it isolates us is also great. The 1950s setting is quite appropriate, and it really displays how much social dynamic makes Michael Shannon's character the monster he really is. Del Toro is great at making irredeemable villains so compelling. Sally Hawkins is also wonderful here, continuing to be one of those people I'm instantly empathetic with, no matter what character she plays. You've probably heard so many people discuss this film, and this will continue for years to come. It's sweet, fun, really touching, and works wonders to make you care about the beautiful love story about a woman who fucks a fish monster. And number 6 is The Breadwinner. You know, at this stage, I'll just be surprised if a Cartoon Saloon released a film that wasn't amazing. They're a huge source of pride for me, being Irish and I love animation, but this really hasn't gotten as much praise from the masses as their other output. It really is a shame because it's truly wonderful. The story of a young girl in a Taliban-controlled Afghanistan in 2003, pretending to be a boy in order to support her family, really tackles troubling issues of gender conventions, family legacy, and the way trends are broken as a means of survival. There's a great sense of humanity to this film. Even the Taliban guards aren't made faceless monsters, and it never feels like their actions are justified. I really like the lead and her friend. I really dig the B-plot with the story being told to the youngest family member. I love how dark and uncompromising the tone can be. This is definitely the weightier of Cartoon Saloon's output, but they offset that by having a sense of fun and whimsy. This also boasts one of my favourite climaxes of any movie of the year, and it's one I dare won't say anything about. Just see it for yourself. It really depicts the power of storytelling and how it can help you survive and shape who you are, and I cannot wait to watch it again. And number 5 is First Reformed. Well, this one kind of blew me away out of nowhere, huh? Paul Schrader's latest feature takes a look at Ethan Hawke as a priest trying to deal with the increasing worries and cynicism of the world around him. It's uncompromising examination of the place of religious order in society where no clear answers anymore. It's compelling and darkly told with an amazing sense of tone and bleakly atmospheric cinematography. It really captures the darkness bubbling inside our lead and the world around him. This is one of Ethan Hawke's finest performances, and he really sells the frustration and quiet disposition as he hides his real anger and fear under the veneer of a good priest. His dynamic with romantic Siegfried is great, and she's truly spellbinding as a worried partner of a radical environmentalist. How everything intertwines is thought-provoking, and an ambiguously suggestive ending really gets the uncertainty it displays across. I love this film. I hope people discover it. And number 4, Sorry to Bother You. Boots Riley manages to hack into the voice of contemporary zeitgeist and release from it a hilarious, relevant, potent, and bizarre anti-capitalist satire that really digs into a lot of contemporary frustration. Keith Stanfield is such a relatable lead as he charms his way through a dispiriting call centre job by using his white voice. The gag involving that is great, by the way. I won't go further than that, but let's just say it gets a hell of a lot stranger from there. Love the cast, especially Tessa Thompson and the always cool Danny Glover. Another standout being Armie Hammer, proving to be a way more interesting actor than I ever gave him credit for before. The writing is sharp and really carefully thought out. It really goes into the dangers of gig economies and how we'll sell our freedoms out more for the sake of the elite. Its reflection on how we react to huge scandals being revealed is also pretty fucking perfect. It's got a sharp insight into culture and the working class struggle, and a note-perfect satire that's politically driven and direct. Absolutely necessary watching as far as I'm concerned. Oh, and don't get any of it spoiled for you. And number 3 is Hereditary. The essence of horror, in my humble opinion, is finding what's really terrifying about the ordinary, and what's more ordinary and terrifying than family. Hereditary tells a rather bleak but real tale of loss and how we cannot escape the confines of family. Ari Aster's fantastic debut feature takes a really terrifying look at the inescapable effect of our own pasts with careful precision and genius planning. Every shot is carefully planned out and framed, making way for excellent contrast with the miniature house replica Tony Collette's character has designed. designed. Speaking of, if ever there was a snub in award season, it's Colette. The entire cast is great, but she absolutely steals the show. Everything in this film works, and you feel every terrible and heart-stopping moment it shares with you. You'll never see some mundane setting so terrifying, and it's the power of a talented filmmaker who really knows how to mess with your head in the best way possible. And number 2 is Suspiria. Oh hey, speaking of movies that mess with your head, I know this remake wasn't what everyone wanted from it, likely because they didn't want to remake it in the first place, but let's not get too distracted. As great as the original is, what I really appreciated about this remake is that it's entirely its own thing. Instead of taking you into this dreamlike frenzy and perplexing murder mystery, it's upfront about its secrets, it's meditative and intense as shit. Some of the scenes in this movie are heart-stopping, it totally embraces your discomfort. While incredibly busy and packed with stuff going on for its 2.5-hour runtime, it never runs into tension and has a lot to say about intergenerational guilt and pain and how it shapes those in the years to follow. It's got a great, subtly intense score by Tom York with a great control of mood and tension. The scenes that are meant to shock and surprise get there carefully by Luca Guadagnino, who's a master of the sensual film. You really feel what's happening here. Topped off a great triple threat performance by Tilda Swinton and a powerful lead in Dakota Johnson. Suspiria is a beast entirely of its own making and takes everything from the concept and rolls with it, telling a story way different from its predecessor. And my favourite film of 2018 is You Are Never Really Here. Lynn Ramsey is one of our greatest living directors, and with how low her filmography is for how long she's been active, it's a crime. Still, it makes what she puts out all the sweeter, and this one is very, very sweet. It's also very sour. An unflinching look at the consequences of violence, this brutal and absorbing crime thriller shows Joaquin Phoenix as a victim of extreme PTSD and suicidal ideation, be tasked with rescuing a senator's daughter from sex traffickers. For such a relatively short film, clocking in just under 90 minutes, it's packed with so much purpose and resonance that I have to applaud how sharp and precise the direction is. I love how very little of the violence is actually on screen. We must see it implied, blurred, or the after effects of the attack. It has one of the most heartbreaking single shots in the film we've seen all year, and a really powerful ending that is more hopeful than you might expect. This is film at its finest, letting the visuals tell a lot of its story with emotional resonance and magnificent central performance by Phoenix. No matter the title, it lets you know that you are here and your pain is all real, even if you fight against acknowledging it. All the lists are listed off and everyone's happy, I guess. Yay! I'm gonna try to do more stuff like this. I'm actually going to buy a new mic, so hoping that'll kind of balance out the sound quality. We shall see, Shan. And like I said, the worst video, if you can like or comment on this or whatever, just give me some tips. What are your favorite films? Would you agree with my list? Do you disagree? Or do you even agree with my list but don't agree with my reasons or my arguments or whatever? Just let me know. I'd love to hear other people's views on this kind of stuff. Yeah, cool. Again, I'm not sure what the output will be for this channel. I have a couple of ideas for videos, but this might be down the road. I'm going to work on a few stuff for my blog. Like my Marvel reviews are lagging again because this is taking up a lot of my time, more so than I would have realized. But that's the nature of the beast, I guess. Thanks for listening, and I appreciate you taking the time to hear me ramble about films I liked for this last year. Hoping 2019 is as promising. I shall see you next time.